2 days ago, if I asked 2 days ago if I would do this class. So I kind of feel like the substitute teacher who comes into a class knowing less than the students, so to speak. But I've been following all along. I was reading, let me get to it real quick. Nasta prayashu abhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloka bhaktir baba nashtiki. By regular attendance in the classes of Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart. This class, me giving a class, is troublesome to my heart because I listen to the classes given by everybody, and I'm like, one of these things doesn't belong here, which is me, in regards to giving classes. So I depend upon the devotees to help me through this class by asking questions. If you have any questions or interjections, comments, please feel free. Ananda Vihari will say such and such has, so that helped me move along and stay on point. That's a big thing. I'm not erudite. I don't know how to organize my thoughts. Sometimes I know how to organize horses, but I do not know how to organize my thoughts. So just help me out if you're willing, and if you have any questions. So straight to it, we are on 10.2.10. We are in the appearance of Yogamaya. I will get right into reading the verse, and then I'll do the invocation. 10.2.10. Achishyanti manasushvam savakama varashvaram dupopahara balibih savakama varapradam. And translation by Srila Prabhupada. By sacrifices of animals, ordinary human beings will worship you gorgeously. This is Yogamaya taking appearance, and Krishna is speaking to her with various paraphernalia, because you are supreme in fulfilling material desires of everyone. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Jai. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7:20, Kamastate Hrita Jana Prapantya Devata. Those whose minds, I murder these things, those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto the demigods. Therefore, the word manusya, meaning human being, notice how close that is to minutia. So manusya here refers to one who does not know the actual goal of life. So this is very important because a lot of people aren't really human, and a lot of people just aren't being, so to speak, sat. They're not even just standing still. So refers to human being. He refers to who does not know the actual goal of life. Such a person wants to enjoy the material world by taking birth in a highly elevated family with the benefits of education, beauty, immense wealth, which in this material world are desirable. One who has forgotten the real aim of life may worship the goddess Durga, Maya Shakti, under various names for different purposes and in different places. I made notes in between to follow. Hopefully I'm on the purport only still. As there are many holy places for the worship of Krishna, this is all obviously, and becoming in America as well, but mostly in India, there are also many holy places in India for the worship of Durga Devi and Maya Devi, who took birth as the daughter of Yashoda. After cheating Kamsa, remember that, after cheating Kamsa, Kamsa was a worshiper, a Shakti worshiper. But he got cheated, because that's what she does. She's chanchala, impossible to catch. Maya dispersed herself to various places, especially in Vidyankala, to accept regular worship from ordinary men. A human being should actually be interested to accept regular worship. Hold on. A human being should actually be interested in understanding Atma Tattva, the truth of Atma, the spirit soul, and Paramatma, the supreme soul. Those who are interested in Atma Tattva worship the supreme personality of Godhead. Yasmin Vidyate Savam Evam Vinatam Bhavati. Mundaka Upanishad. However, as explained in the next verse, I'm going to take a deep breath. As explained in the next verse of this chapter, those who cannot understand Atma Tattva, Apashyatam Atma Tattvam, worship Yogamaya in her different features. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says, 212, Shrotish Bantini Rajendra, Niram Shanti Sahasrana, Apashyatam Atmatvatvam Griheshu Griha Mittanam. I'm like that guy that sings along with a song. You don't know the words, so you just kind of mumble through them, and hopefully nobody knows that you don't know the lyrics. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of the ultimate truth, have many subject matters. This is very important. One whose intelligence is splayed gets nothing done. It's like my dog sometimes goes into the field and there's several rabbits. Now he knows enough after many times to chase one rabbit, and therefore he, out of 1,000, he's caught one or two. It was a terrible thing, but he knows enough not to go after many. Human beings do not know enough. They splay their intelligence. They oh, maybe if I get this, then I'll be happy. Maybe if I get this, I get happy. So they are at many subject matters, and under these subject matters, fear underlies all of them. That's Kamsa. Back to the purport. For hearing in society, O Emperor, have many subject matters for hearing. Many books, Prabhupada said, or actually in the Bible it says, of the making of many books, there'll be no end. So we understand. And then Prabhupada once said, the devotee, or, when he's new or just learning, he'll purchase, he'll have many, many books in his library, and he'll read none of them. I'm kind of like one of those guys. Let me show you something here. I do read them, but as you can see, there's a lot of books open here because that's my thing. Fear on where am I? Okay, those who are interested in remaining in this material world. This is interesting. Those who are interested in remaining in this material world, we come to understand that this is actually our desire to try to make it work without Krishna. That's the envy part. And are not interested in spiritual salvation, have many duties. But for one who's interested in spiritual salvation, the only duty, and this is what makes it simple, is to surrender fully unto Krishna. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. Such a person is not interested in material enjoyment. Invocation. Om Jnana Tirmandrisya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Umilitam Yena Tashme Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer obeisances unto him. Here's one that I happenstance upon that I've heard other more advanced or more learned devotees say, and I looked it up once, and I thought, this is a great one, especially for me. Mukham karoti vachalam pagam lagatyate giram yat kripatam aham dvande Shri Guru dinataranam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the deliverer of the fallen souls. His mercy turns the dumb into eloquent speakers and enables the lame to cross mountains. So, as a speaker, right now being given the blessings of the devotees to allow me to speak and repeat what I have learned from my spiritual master. Hopefully I will speak eloquently, in short, to wit, and enable me to cross the mountain of my own ignorance. So Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Pashtatejatane. To all the devotees, Vancha Kalpa Tarubhashya Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanabayo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. So I pray for the blessings from all of you. You're also very wonderful. And I really mean that. This being having been relatively newly invited to these Bhagavatam classes, I literally am going day to day with these Bhagavatam classes because I'm sort of like a satellite in space. I'm not in New York. I don't get to see any devotees for that matter. Boston Temple has been closed for 2 years now. So don't get to go there. And I don't really have devotee friends where I live in the country type of thing. So these Bhagavatam classes, you guys are desire trees, and I live for them day to day, and I need to repeatedly hear them. So I pray for your blessings, that whatever I say is pleasing to you, to my Guru, Maharaj, to Lord Chaitanya, to Nityananda, to Radha, and to Krishna. And I hope that whatever is in me that has led me at least to the graces, I have to give a shout out to Adi Purush, because it was Adi Purush who repeatedly over a long period of time calls me daily. And he said, he would always say, "Oh, we have a Bhagavatam class, And I was just getting used to Zoom, period. For a couple of things. So I didn't know how that worked. And long story short, with Adi Purush's persistence, I came on board with the Bhakti Center and the devotees surrounding in New York, the cynosure of the devotional universe, as far as I'm concerned, in America. You're like a campfire, and all eyes are upon how you guys are burnt. Every devotee I've ever talked to, they're like, the Bhakti Center. The devotees at the Bhakti Center, they're so hip and effulgent and knowledgeable. Adi Purush and I were talking about just some of the sorry, when I try to remember pronouns, I can't remember names. Who gave class yesterday? Dina? Anybody? Who gave class yesterday?
Dana Kaylee, Prabhu, Dana Kaylee.
Dana Kaylee. And Dayal Garanga the day before. And when we talked about Dana Kriya, yeah. We were just talking about how wonderful their classes are. Everybody's classes, of course, but those were most recent. So it's incredible. I could go down the whole list, and I'd have to say that it's so heartening to hear these devotees. Being 60, I'm sort of like, outside the door, hopefully heading towards that tunnel of light. I know that some people are like, what is he talking about? But it's like the world isn't out in front of me. But for some of these younger speakers that are just getting married to wonderful, Vaishnavis, and everybody's so enlivened, and it's just a great heartening feeling to know that the movement is in great hands. I believe it was Adi Purush saying, these devotees, these younger devotees, the kids who were born in the movement, the kids of the kids into the movement, and the younger devotees that are now entering as second and third generation, these are the ones that not only get all the blessings from Prabhupada's teachings, but also get to learn from the mistakes of us youngsters. When we joined, everything was relatively new. We only had ourselves, and there was Prabhupada, and some people in between who tried their best, but everybody was young and everybody was naive to the onslaught of Maya Devi. And that's what this class is about. That's what this purport is about. When I first read, I asked Ananda Bihari, what is the verse? He says, would you give class? I go, what's the verse? I could have looked it up, but I just wanted a quick answer, and he gave it to me. And then I looked at it, and it started with by the sacrifices of animals. And I was like, hell no. I mean, when I hear of the Rajashuya sacrifice, the sacrifices of horses, I'm like, tell those Brahmins to take a hike. Let them sacrifice their sons. Let them sacrifice themselves. Do what a demon does. Cut your own head off. That's my feeling about animal sacrifice. Do it to yourself. Where's the sacrifice in taking an innocent animal's life, so to speak? But apparently they come back and they're better than ever and all that. But we know what the real sacrifice is. And then I read on, basically what it is Prabhupada is saying here. What is Prabhupada saying here is that we are the animals. We are that animals, because when we worship material nature, it means we're worshiping the senses. And as a lover and a guardian of animals, they are very much sense, driven, and they're also emotionally driven. The animals they live on feeling, like a horse. 1,500. I had a 1,800 pound. That's almost 2,000 pounds. And a horse, Cairo, who recently passed. This is a big boy. He could kick a hole in the side of my car. I watched him kick once a solid steel bar. A hay feeding, a hay feeder. It's 20 gauge steel. And he was just having fun, and he raised up his back haunches and kicked it and bent it, and yet he can feel one fly land on his behind, and his tail goes towards it, or his skin thing. So animals are very much driven by their senses. They're very aware of their world, sensually speaking. And that's what happens to those who are engrossed or absorbed in the material world. They have many duties to perform. They're constantly paying attention to this world, especially nowadays. I'm sure it was always this way. War isn't new. We had the Vietnam War when we were sacrificing tens of thousands of our own young men. So this isn't new. History repeats itself. Don't be surprised about what's happening. There have been these times before. We had a civil war. We had World War I and World War II, where for 20 yards of land, I'm not exaggerating, this is hyperbole, for 20 yards of French soil, tens of thousands of young men would be lost in a day. Yours is not to question why. Yours is but to do and die, is a soldier's motto. So this is material life. This is the spirit soul trapped in the body, in an animal, becoming an animal. His yantra is no longer the vehicle by which his soul becomes aware. He doesn't engage his senses in service to Krishna. Remember, this isn't about negating the senses or about even negating sense gratification. It's about just simply turning your attention, your consciousness to Krishna. And this is our responsibility, of course, and the Bhakti Center does it well. We entice people in, whether it be through yoga classes or through wonderful prasad or through the glowing devotees themselves, who are so wonderful, intelligent, and beautiful, just automatically attractive. I can't remember whether it was Dhanakriya or Dayal Guranga was saying that now these new books are calling what Prabhupada said and Radhanath Swami said, these, sadhu sangha, you have to have these vibes, these positive vibes, like attracts like. So the devotees at the Bhakti Center are devotees in general. Prabhupada, okay? Prabhupada, people do pick up, if a horse can pick up on a fly that lands on him, so our soul as human beings, we have the capability to pick up on the vibes, on the purity of others, right away. I remember somebody said, I was asking Radhanath Maharaj, about, when people would come to visit the center back in the 1980s. Radhanath Maharaj had just taken sannyas, and I had just joined the little bungalow that he had there at Ohio University. And people would come, and I'd be like, we got to give them information, and the philosophy, and look at the Sanskrit and all that stuff, like a young bhakta does, tries to sophomorically philosophize. But Radhanath would go, calm down. They're just here to actually, I think he used this to feel your vibe, to feel who you are. Are you a happy person? Do you emanate cleanliness of motivation? Does it seem like you're motivated, selfishly, or does it seem like you're selflessly giving of yourself? So they picked that up, and I have no idea where I was at. Supreme material desires of everyone. So Prabhupada says, I'm going to go back to the purport in order to stay in line here and not get lost. Those whose minds, this is Prabhupada, are distorted by material desires surrender unto the demigods. Now, we don't surrender unto demigods in the West, but we do surrender unto demigods. Who are our demigods? Big media, mainstream media is the demigod. We trust them. They are our, what are those? The voice, somebody. Who's the voice from the sky that came down to Kamsa? Kamsa, you fool. What is that called? Sanskrit.
Akashvani.
Akashavani. Okay. Media, the newspaper, the news, Prajalpa.
Movies.
Movies. Because they inform you deeply, because they get you like thinking about, well, maybe I can, as Dayal Gurunga said the other, maybe I can get my feet wet, spend some time watching a movie. There's only one good movie to watch. That's The Matrix Part 1. You get it. That's a good one for a devotee. Then you can see it in real time. Anyways, just kidding. We oh, yes, I see what happens. I was remembering The Matrix, and now I went right off the back there. So we think that we listen to those voices, the media, and it makes us fear. It makes us fear the world. Big media is like that, is a demigod, because we, like, what are you saying? Big government, our government. We actually think that these meat eaters, whoremongers, they're only after wealth. These are the people Prabhupada said not to follow, not to listen to, and yet we're like, well, the government says. The CDC says, we do have to listen. We have to use our intelligence, Buddha yoga. We have to use, but we have to be discerning. And we also have to remember who's doing the speaking. What is the motivation behind that? The media, big pharma. Now, science is good. The empirical method is good. We use it. Prabhupada is the science of self-realization. That means you have a theory, you have, and you do some experiments, and you follow the data. What has proven out to be empirically true. So we say to people, just take some prasad. Listen to these wonderful stories. God's beautiful. He loves you. Let's sing. Let's dance. Isn't this great? And then they're there, and then they get the philosophy. So we are encouraged not to worship the demigods of the West. Okay, so we are demigod worshipers. They are over us now. They're going to reset us and get us under their control. Actually, I don't think they're demigods, because demigods worship Krishna. So these are demons, quite frankly. Just look at what they do with their own lives. They're certainly not talking about Krishna or God in any way, sense, or form, and they're certainly not talking about goodness. So they're not even in the mode of goodness. So we have to So this is about Maya. So can anybody very briefly tell me the difference on a bumper sticker between Maha Maya and Yoga Maya? Like what does each offer us? Anybody? Be
Both of
brave.
them. Hello? Go on.
Yes, Andrea?
I was going to say, I think Mahamaya is the Maya that keeps us in illusion and this feeling disconnected from Krishna, or allows us to feel disconnected from Krishna. And Yoga Maya is the one that can connect us to Krishna. No?
Right. And it's based on our desire. We always have to remember to be true to ourselves, in the sense that to be Shakespeare said, "Be true to thine own self, and therefore you shall be false to no one else." And that is, it is our desire that brings either Mahamaya or Yoga Maya into our presence. And that is if we desire to forget Krishna. And I've had firsthand experience of this, actually being conscientiously desiring to say, listen, I'm stepping out type of thing. And then Mahamaya, she works by subterfuge, by trickery, as she tricked Kamsa. Mahamaya is a servant of Krishna. Durga Devi carries a staff. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. But anyways, it's a spear with 3 barbed hooks on them: Adhyatmic, Adhibodic, and Adhidaivic. Okay, miseries of the mind, miseries of the body, miseries from other people, and miseries from the demigods. And as we can see, we're suffering all 3 in spades. In these times, it's never so apparent, and never have we been so aware, because we have the internet, so to speak. So we sort of got a little bit of omnipotence here, but we can also be lied to, and we have to be very careful. Trident. Thank you, Brian. I'm sure that there's a devotee name behind that. So Mahamaya says, well, if you want this, come here. It's sort of like a fish in the water. You know, she's got this trident, or whatever it's called, that you run into a fish once again. And she puts those crumbs there, and you nibble a little bit of the fish, or it's like a hook. And the fish nibbles a little bit, and then you come up close enough, and you're like, this is tasty. And the other fish are circling around, and then you get too close to the surface, and then chkoom, you run through. So this is Maha Maya, okay? She leads you on, and then she gives you a little Adhyatmic, Adhibodic, and Adhidaivic for your good learning experience, okay? This is a school, this world, this Middle Earth, this plane, because when you're in hell, you're just suffering, okay? You're just doing your time. And when you're in heaven, you're like, this is a good time, you know. I love you, Krishna. This is great, you know. But you know, I want to stay here. You know, I want to do things my way. I have a little bit of self-interest going on here. There's nothing against the demigods, but you know, they just get a little bit of their feet wet, and they're doing that. But then there's Earth, which you get this nice balance, this this duality. So you come forward to enjoy, and you get the pain. It's hand in hand. But if you choose, finally, after exhaustion, as Prabhupada says in his last words of his purport here, such a person is not interested in material enjoyment, and therein lies the rub. Many of us, and I will only speak for myself, you don't even know that you have these things within you sometimes, especially when you're young, that there's a lot of things that you're curious about, and you think you can get away with enjoying it. In fact, it's sort of like the fog of war. You know, we don't know what the truth is. One side says something, there's propaganda on one side and propaganda on the other. So we get propaganda. Maya has propaganda in our head. She says, you can do this. Take the edge off, Prabhu. You know, she's there. And it's based on our heart, whether we, you know, it's sort of this dry area. If we're not going after Krishna, if we're not trying, and I'm going to use this word, you don't hear it a lot, but if we're not enjoying Krishna consciousness, if we're not immersed in the pleasure, the divine, sublime pleasure of chanting, dancing, and feasting, Prabhupada said, devotees were making things complicated for the complicated and simple for the simple. Just absorb yourself in all the attractive aspects of Krishna consciousness. Every day, because I'm on the internet due to my business, and I get letters and blah blah blah. And it's only one. It never has it been so easy to be diverted, to be distracted by Maya, and consequently, because this is a world of duality, and Yoga Maya is hand in hand with Maha Maya. Never has it been so easy to lose yourself in Shastra. You have Veda base, you have Vanapedia, you have the devotees, you have these Bhagavatam classes. These things were few and far between back in the day. So one can't complain that things are going so fast in regards to getting lost or distracted away from Krishna, Mahamaya, but never have things been so easy to get us caught in the net, that wonderful, beautiful net of Yogamaya, whose job it is to say, actually, Yogamaya has a little prod. She prods you from behind to go towards Krishna. So you go towards Mahamaya and she impales you. You go towards Yogamaya, Krishna embraces you, or you follow what Yogamaya. And Yogamaya comes in the form for us as these wonderful pastimes, these leelas. I cannot express enough as a person who, studied mythology in college, anthropology, other cultures, other religions. It's very hard to say, oh, well, this is the way it is. What about this story? The Vikings had a god who was like this, and the Greeks had Apollo and Zeus, but then you understand that the names have been changed, but they all are the same people we're talking about in the Vedas. Just different names. It's a different language. It's all the same. The purport is the same. The essential message is the same. The essential lesson is the same. Aham Brahmastami. We are spirit souls, and there is another world where we belong. And that here in this world, this is not our home. So when you go towards Mahamaya, I would like to actually see the chats to see what people are saying. So chat. Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. At least something's getting through from me. You are taking in, coming. Okay, so once again, an appreciation for those of you who live in the city. It's really nice to take walks in the country. Every day is what I do. I deal with animals. This is all in the mode of goodness, even though my horses are in the mode of passion, big time. But they are in the mode of goodness. It's pretty easy to change your rounds walking through the woods with your dogs. It's you devotees who are on the front lines of the city where there's tons of people to chant to help and to preach to, or to bring towards Krishna, which is a wonderful thing. Adi Purusha, the Bhakti Center, etc. You guys are doing such the most important services, according to Krishna says. Those who preach to the devotees are the dearest to me. So Krishna does have his favorites. So those of you who are bringing devotees to Krishna, or bringing jivatmas and teaching them the tattva of Krishna consciousness, are so dear to Krishna. And you guys are on that. You've got incoming fire all day long. You are on concrete. You can't see. Nature is kind of covered by man's concrete. That's the best man can do, is to make bricks, But when you're out in nature, you're constantly reminded of Krishna's wondrous works, because, who did this? Very quickly, some of the things that one can do to make sure that we follow Yogamaya and not Mahamaya, and that is the regulative principles. I don't need to repeat them, but intoxication, let us say, there's also intoxicant. Fear is a form of intoxication. It's toxic and it's in you. Okay, so reading the news or listening to the news, it doesn't mean one rejects it, but one also has to rise above it or be transcendental to it, to remind oneself that there will always be wars. There will always be wars because there will always be a shortage of resources, and people will always be greedy for them, and there will always be hegemony, meaning that everybody's going to want whatever other people have. There'll always be lust, anger, greed, envy, delusion, illusion, and madness. So one way to protect ourselves is and to give strength to our regulative principles is 16 rounds. When you chant 16 rounds in the morning, I've got 5 minutes. So someone remind me when this 5 minutes is up. 16 rounds. Prabhupada says 16 rounds, and Krishna says, this is some of the magic. I remember, I'll make this quick. When I was living at Athens in the little bungalow, Radhanath Swami's first preaching center, he'd just taken sannyas, and I was one of his first guys there, and boy, was I a lot of trouble, because I had no intention of surrendering. I was just very interested in Radhanath Swami, and he told such wonderful stories, and and the prasadam was free and wonderful, and Radhanath Swami cooked it all every meal, and he would serve, and we would just sit there, the whole boxing team, and eat, and he'd have us lay on our left side to digest, and he would sit there with a circle of fighters, because we were the ones who showed up most often. Our coach told us we followed 4 regulative principles in college: no wine, no women, no weed, and no wasting time. And then one time, some of us fighters wanted to fight pro, which meant more than 3 rounds. And he said, to help your endurance, don't eat meat or eat less meat. And we said, how are we going to do that? He goes, I know somebody who does the Hare Krishnas do a cooking class. And so that's how I met Radhanath Maharaj. So there, vis-a-vis, that's how important cooking classes or prasadam distribution is, because people become interested in the food, and they become endeared to you. Through the stomach, the heart is one. So he would, tell us stories, and you become endeared or bonded to our boxing coach, Dr. Mung Ji from Burma, led us to Radhanath Maharaj. And then, of course, it was all over once you meet Radhanath Swami. And especially because I needed it, I had constant association under his wing, so to speak. So the question remains always, we have to ask ourselves continually, why are we in this movement? Why are we going to Yoga Maya instead of Maha Maya? Maha Maya is always saying, why? For the same reason you used to do it in your past life, because there's a little pleasure there. There's something I'm going to give you. And then your other part of your mind's going, yeah, but it's going to hurt when it's over, that's what you get when you get smart. You become, enlightenment means you remove the clouds, from you. The enlightenment comes from somewhere else, and light comes over you because you remove the clouds of the deception. So why are we become? Because Daya Guranga said the other day, because that is our constitutional position. We're not Nietzsche said, I'm sorry, I don't know the verse, but it's in Chaitanya, we're eternal servants. This is our constitutional position, to be servant. And in the West, servant, we don't dig that word. But remember, this isn't just service we're doing. This is devotional service. Devotion means to be devoted. Why are you devoted? It's a thing of volition. It comes from our will, our desire, because we love, we're attracted to. We are constitutionally loving beings. My animals, after they trust you, and that's the process of us, sadhu sangha, people get to trust you and surrender to you, be vulnerable to you. I'm listening to you, Prabhu. I will do what you say, Prabhu. I am going to listen to Prabhupada because I've made myself vulnerable, which is another word for humble. I'm going to accept what is being said. Why? Because we are naturally want love, and we want someone, capital S, to love. Remember that song from the 60s? You better find somebody to love. Don't you find somebody to love? You're gonna need somebody to love. That's our constitutional position. And no, our love, we want reciprocation. If we know, and it grows and grows and grows, becomes more and more pure and perfect. And only Krishna can give us that love back, that satisfaction. And we all know, you ask anybody, even an atheist, are you satisfied? Can't get no satisfaction. And I try and I try and I try. Okay. But can't get no. So this is what Bhakti Yoga is all about. Trusting, becoming vulnerable, trusting the devotees, trusting Shastra, learning to love again. Bhakti means love. Radharani is Bhakti Rupa. Yoga Maya is an extension of Radharani. She's there to teach us how to love again. So remember, when you go to Maha Maya, you are the animal of sacrifice. It is you who are bleeding out your time. Okay. I don't have time to tell. I wanted to tell a story, but Krishna made me forget it because obviously I shouldn't tell it, or maybe not, unless somebody asks to hear a short story. But now here we are at quarter of 7:45, right on the button. So if there are any comments or questions, I do want to share one last thing after the questions. So I just want to say one thing. Remember, it's the purpose of Maha Maya to wring us out dry. Why? Why does Maha Maya like twist us and wring us free from our misapprehensions, our misconstrued idea of reality? She wrings us out our desires so that we can become absorbent, absorb Krishna consciousness. That's Yoga Maya. All right, so bring it on.
Hare Krishna, Bhima Das
Haribo. Haribo.
To quickly give my appreciation, because as I wrote in the chat, we are having a bad thunderstorm here, so the electricity and everything just keeps going in and out. But my big takeaway from your class, first off, you do deserve and are a part of being in these classes. I'm so grateful for every time that you show up, not only when you're giving class, but also when other people are giving class, because you always bring reality and compassion to the conversation in just that really real way. like no joke, it's just real.
Thank you.
I see the fighter in you.
Yeah, well,
but my big takeaway from this is just really that difference between Maha Maya and Yoga Maya. And I love that little short thing that you gave us about go towards Maha Maya and she impales you, go towards Yoga Maya and Krishna embraces you. It's literally a little like haiku. So thank you so much. And please continue to spread your love and wisdom and tell us stories about your animals and how all your life stories can help us and learn.
Very much, Andrea. That's very nice. Yeah, the School of Hard Knocks. Yeah, I mean, we learn these lessons and then we go out there and hopefully, I think that Prabhupada said, I remember I remember one time I said to Radhanath Maharaj, well, in my excuses for why I wanted to go out and fight my own fight, so to speak, I said experience is the best teacher. And Radhanath pointed his head at the ground and shook his head, and he said, and a fool will learn by no other way. So if I can share these stories with you, you can realize that that even in this day and age, these stories that we hear from the Bhagavatam are relevant. That's why I say read Krishna book. Every one of those demons. Kamsa is with us now, by the way. Kamsa is always with us. Fear personified
is he on this call? Is he on this call?
Oh yeah, he's in every one of our minds. In as much as we are not pure devotees, we're listening to Kamsa. Yeah.
We only have one person without a name. 646-419-68484. Are you Kamsa?
Oh, jeez. How dare you?
Kamsa.
I
We know
am.
you're here. Oh, you're a Kamsa.
I
No,
am.
Bhima Prabhu, you're very compassionate. I remember the first comment that Bhima Prabhu blessed us with on this class was, dogs aren't lowly. To that effect, we were talking, dogs aren't lowly. You know, we were talking about dogs, and Bhima Prabhu defended the dogs. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
because
very
in
much.
loyalty, it's incredible the loyalty. They'll give your life. Jesus, as Prabhupada said, Lord Jesus. Remember that. If you have problems with Christians, just talk about Christ, because Prabhupada called Christ, Jesus Christ, Lord Jesus. Okay? So he was very much, Prabhupada said, if you don't understand, you cannot, if you don't understand Christ, you don't understand Krishna. There you go, right there. Those are Prabhupada's words. Look it up, Vanapedia. Okay? So Christ said the sign of love, which is what it's all about love. What is proof of love? His disciples asked him, he says, you're willing to give your life. Dogs, trust me, I've been there. I've been around bears. I've been around bucks. I've seen strangers come to the house, knocking on the door, not with ill intent, but the dog's willing to give his life to protect you. And that's loyalty. We should be willing to take a bullet for the devotees. We should be willing to take a bullet for anyone, quite frankly, because as my wife says, she always tells me, don't preach. No man is a prophet in his own home. Remember that. Christ said that. No man is a prophet, meaning without respect, in his own home and in his own neighborhood. Okay. So as my wife says, don't preach, imbibe, drink what you learn in, and be an example. That's what my wife says, to be an example of the philosophy. So love is the greatest example that one can give. And back to the dogs, dogs will love you no matter what you do to them. You forget to feed them, you forget to let them out. They're always like, I love you, I love you. So we always have to remember that as far as the animals. And remember, we are the sacrificial animals. So any other questions? We got 8 minutes. That's a lifetime in Krishna consciousness.
Shikshashtakam, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Brother.
Haribol, Bhima.
Haribol, brother.
So I have my own realization that I was just reading Chaitanya Bhagavat, Glories of Haridas Thakur. It took me 4 hours to read that chapter on an audiobook. It's available on my profile page if anybody wants to listen. It's really ecstatic. But in that, there was some Smarta Brahmin that was challenging, what's his name? I can't remember the Brahmana's name, but he was challenging Haridas about why he was chanting so loudly. This was before Lord Chaitanya manifest his pastimes of revealing, his, devotional aspect. And so all the devotees were really depressed, and everybody in Navadvip was completely in Maya. And this one Smarta Brahmana was envious of Haridas. And so he said, why are you chanting so loudly? Where in the scriptures does it say that you could chant loudly? And he quoted Prahlad Maharaj. He says, if you chant loudly, if you chant silently, that purifies yourself. But if you chant loudly, it can purify everybody else that hears you. And in the purport, Bhaktisiddhanta said, it can on your point of like showing mercy to other living entities besides human beings, it said you can purify or you can liberate animals and even insects. Sometimes, even I have like the flies buzzing around my head like a little gnat, and I kill it. But when you look at it that way, like Haridas Thakur wouldn't even kill a fly or an insect, so, and neither would any other real devotee. So that made me think, that you have to try to give the holy name to everybody.
Yeah, let me interject something here. When I'm in the woods and chanting, because I take my dogs for like a 2-hour walk. Actually, my dogs are responsible for my sadhana. because I can't get away without those walks. And what a better thing to do while walking is to chant. And I chant aloud. You know, we have to, you know, the name is purifying for even the trees and the creepers. We know this to be true. We know, we've heard, science has proven that they feel vibrations. And if you're chanting as pure as you can, you know, that tree is going to have to hear that holy name in the next life, which means that brings that, you know, I remember when I had a dog get hit by a car due to my own negligence back in the day. I called a Nichadita Shikshastika because I know he had a dog, and at the time I was talking to him and I was crying, and he goes, but you have to understand, Prabhu, that dog, you know, you gave him Maha, because I would give him Maha milk sweets. I would go to the temple and I would beg and I would pay and whatever it took to get the Maha milk sweets from the pujaris for my dogs. And of course, these dogs would be with me when I'm chanting. When I'm here down in my man cave and I'm chanting, these dogs are right over on the couch, their couch, and they're listening. Their names are Rama and Krishna, so I scream for them, Rama and Krishna. I'm doing whatever I can in my way to do this. Now, from one side of the things, from gnats and creepers and trees, I'd like to end this class with thank you very much, Shikshastika. Andrea says she's in love with that painting behind you. So make sure the next time you're on, you give us a full shot, because I've never seen that painting either before.
That's actually a tapestry.
Oh, that's beautiful. Straight from India, obviously. So it's dyed. Yeah.
Well, it's actually a woven tapestry.
Oh my
I got
God,
it on
beautiful.
Amazon. You can look.
Oh, wow. That's nice. That's nice. Okay. So let me end this, at least something I wanted to say, because I view it's very important, because we're coming to the end of Prabhupada's verses in the Bhagavatam. I know it's some distance in the future. I've got 3 minutes, and that's exactly how long. This is, and we'll go over this again and again. I'm sure other devotees will. But remember, nothing happens by circumstance. Nothing is coincidence. Nothing is nothing, especially in a pure devotee's life. Krishna has Prabhupada. Prabhupada always used to listen to devotees read Prabhupada's own writing, because Prabhupada would say, Krishna's doing this writing. And as you read more Shastra, you start to understand the magic that every word that Prabhupada wrote, and I'm telling this for truth in my own personal experience, every word that Prabhupada wrote is a mantra. These mantras free you. Mantra frees you from your own mind. When I get a lot of anxiety because I have a lot of material things that I built up over the years. And of course, attachments woven in through. And it hurts when you realize that, you know, you're going to give these things up probably sooner rather than later, especially because of today's economy and stuff. And, you know, I have animals that I love and serve and whatever. And then the next thing you know, some strange disease comes along and knocks them out, and they're gone. And I'm digging a 9-foot by 12-foot hole in the field with a backhoe, and I'm like, my God, you know, and I'm trying to inculcate the fact that the spirit soul of that horse is now galloping somewhere else towards Krishna. But there it is. There's the material world, here today, gone tomorrow. It's just a dream. So Prabhupada's last written words, Bhagavatam, are this. I'm sorry I did not write down. I don't know why I didn't paste and copy the verse and chapter, but we talked about it a couple of days ago. This is the verse in English. Then, rising very gradually and wiping his 2 eyes, Lord Brahma looked up at Mukunda. Lord Brahma, his head bent low, his mind concentrated, and his body trembling. He was crying. Very humbly began, with faltering words, to offer praises to Lord Krishna. So the purport is, Brahma, being very joyful, began to shed tears, and he washed the lotus feet of Krishna with his tears. Repeatedly he fell and rose as he recalled the wonderful activities of the Lord. This is right after Brahma had tried to take the cowherd boys, and Krishna showed him that you can't trick me. So Brahma was thrown into a little bit of Mahamaya, even Brahma. Repeatedly, he fell and rose as he recalled the wonderful activities of the Lord. After repeating obeisances for a long time, Brahma stood up and smeared his hands over his eyes. Prabhupada writes, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the word Lochana indicates that with his two hands, like a child, this is Brahma. This is the creator of the material world. Okay? This is what we become when we say to Krishna, I, what about me? Boom. Krishna says, are you sure? Then go figure. And then boom, we're Brahma. And then we're like in darkness. And he says, this is what you got to do. Tapa, work for it. Okay? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the word Lochana indicates that with his two hands, he wiped each of his eyes. Brahma was brought to the reduced state of being a child crying. Indicates that he had wiped the two eyes on each of his four faces, no matter what he knew in the four directions. Seeing the Lord before him, Brahma began to offer prayers with great humility, respect, and attention. So 801, the curtains are open. Let us offer repeated obeisances. Let us raise our heads and let us at least try to cry for the wonderful Leela and pastimes of Krishna. Follow Yoga Maya. She's sweet. Watch out for Maha Maya. She's there around you. Chant your 16 rounds and you'll be safe. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Beautiful class. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good seeing you every morning so steadily.
All glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Akiko-chan, good seeing you. Hare Krishna.